Hello, I'm attorney Todd Leneve. Welcome to West Virginia Gun Law. Today I wanted to take a few minutes and talk with you about modifications to your defensive carry gun. Stick around. I've had this discussion a number of times with people and was just asked again by a family member recently. Thought it might be a good idea to take a few minutes to talk about the defensive carry gun that you have and modifications that you may or may not have made to that firearm. So as folks who are passionate about the Second Amendment, I'm sure every one of us has some customized firearm or multiple customized firearms in our personal collection that we've taken time to add a cool optic, maybe a slick new grip, some kind of accessory, something functional, or maybe even it's just something that's visually pleasing that kind of reflects our personality, or is something that we just happen to think is cool. So while we who are passionate about the Second Amendment and about shooting readily understand why we may want to make these modifications, people who are not in the same mindset about guns likely are going to see it differently and are going to have questions about why we've done these things. So when I'm talking about modifications, what do I mean? Well, how about simple things like this little gem, which frankly I love. Or there's this pistol, which I think looks incredibly cool. And then there are all of these, which offer a variety of modifications that deal with function and some with just plain aesthetics. So why is this so important? Well, as I said earlier, people who aren't in the gun community may have questions of their own about why we choose to modify a firearm. But the bigger concern is that when you're talking about an investigating police officer, about a prosecuting attorney, about a jury, about a judge who are now involved in your case because you had to use your firearm to protect yourself, how is this going to be presented to them? Well, I can tell you that a motivated prosecutor is going to point at these kinds of modifications and say that it gets to the issue of intent on your part. They're going to try to hold that firearm up in front of the jury and say, look, this Punisher skull on the side of the pistol, this highly modified slide, or this cute engraving on the end of the muzzle all suggest that Mr. Leneve was an individual who was out looking for an opportunity to use his gun and shoot somebody. He felt that he was some kind of vigilante who had the duty to go around the community and clean up crime. And while these arguments may be ridiculous, they are arguments that will be made. And for the people who aren't in the 2A community, as they sit in that jury box and they listen to these arguments and they see this scary black gun, or whatever the case may be, paraded in front of them with a prosecutor telling them exactly why they should be scared of it and why it makes you a bad person, they're going to be persuaded. The better practice here is when it comes to our carry gun, carry something that is stock or as close to stock as it possibly can be and eliminate these kinds of issues. These things are great to have in your personal collection. They're great for taking to the range, for having on display, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to the gun that you carry for defensive purposes, for your own personal safety, I strongly recommend you make it a stock gun. So there are a couple of modifications that I think may be okay and that I think are justifiable even in front of a jury. One would be an optic. As people age, their eyesight gets worse. Some people were born with poor eyesight, and it can make those little iron sights challenging to see, especially in darker conditions. So some kind of a red dot reflex type sight can be very helpful to make sure that you are on target. And more to the point, those kinds of optics make it so that you can be more accurate with your pistol. Well, what's the advantage there? Well, if you have to defend yourself, you want to shoot the threat. You don't want to shoot innocent people. And by having that kind of a sight, that sort of an optic on your pistol, you are better equipped to get on target, to hit the threat and nobody else. You're saving extraneous shots. Another thing that is probably arguably justifiable is a trigger, having some sort of enhanced trigger, maybe the one that's slightly lighter. A lot of firearms have a double action only or a double action and single action function. And anybody who shoots understands that that first double action trigger squeeze can be challenging. Very often it's a 10 to 12 pound, sometimes even greater pull on that trigger. And if you've ever done any comparison shooting between double action and single action on a target, generally your double action shot is a little less likely to be precisely where you wanted it to go. After you've had that first cycle, and now you're into single action, it's a whole different ball game. But being able to improve the trigger pull, the trigger weight on that first pull in a double action firearm, again, can make you a lot more accurate. And when we talk about round accountability, meaning you're responsible for wherever your rounds go, being able to say that you've made a modification that allows you to put rounds on the intended target is absolutely a defensible position. One other thing that I think is important is the type of ammunition that you choose to use. I recommend to everybody that asks me, find out what your local law enforcement carries and use that in your gun. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. Why do police carry guns? Well, to stop bad guys. Why do they carry certain ammunition? Well, it's because it will more effectively stop bad guys. It's okay for them to do it, so it's okay for us to do it. Self-defense laws apply to the police just as they do to us as private citizens. So again, if that ammunition is good enough for them, then it's good enough for us. I know this could be kind of a hot button topic and there may be a lot of different thoughts out there. I'd love to see you share your comments and thoughts in the comments section below. Let's get a discussion started on this topic and get your input on it. See where you land on this issue. I appreciate you stopping by. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider joining the channel. Hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the like button for this video and please share it with your friends. Let's get this information out there and let's get this video circulated more broadly. There's definitely an anti-2A algorithm on this platform, so help me get around that by getting this video out to other people who may not otherwise see it. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for being a part of the channel and part of this community. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, take care.